What's the most interesting animal that you've ever seen in the wild?
I think that would be pygmy elephants in Malaysia. I was there on a vacation a year ago. We saw around a pack of 18, 20 pygmy elephants. That's probably the most interesting one I've seen.
Why did it make such an impression on you?
Well, they're huge, aren't they? Even for pygmies.
Is there anywhere you would particularly like to go to see animals or the natural world?
Well, Africa, the eastern parts of Africa, the savannah with the lions and stuff like that, that would be interesting.
What's the most interesting wild animal that you've ever seen in the wild?
An orangutan. Yeah, an orangutan, certainly.
Where was that?
In Borneo, in the Malaysian part of Borneo.
Why did it make such an impression on you?
Simply because we'd gone there especially to see them. It's one of my favourite animals, but we'd been told the chances of seeing them in the wild were very slim. And so I'd kind of lowered my expectations, and when we did actually get to see one, it was very, very exciting and unexpected.
Is there anywhere you would particularly like to go to see animals or the natural world?
Yes, I'd really like to go to East Africa, to the kind of the mountains around there. It's a part of the world I've not been to, and I'd really like to go and explore that.
What's the most interesting wild animal that you've ever seen in the wild?
I was very lucky to see a pride of lions quite up close in Kenya, and that was just awesome to see.
Why did it make such an impression on you?
Because I didn't feel right being there and seeing them. I suppose it's better to see them in the wild, but really, I think you've got to keep your distance between wildlife and us, really.
Is there anywhere you'd particularly like to go to see animals or the natural world?
Well, actually, top of my list would be New Zealand, but probably not because of the wildlife, because of the scenery. But back to Africa. I think you can't top African wildlife, I think.
What's the most interesting animal that you've ever seen in the wild?
I saw a giraffe once. I mean, it's not that interesting, I suppose, but I did see it in the wild.
Where was that?
That was in Ethiopia, in northern Ethiopia.
Why did it make such an impression on you?
I think because I wasn't expecting to see it. I was hitchhiking on the back of a truck, and we were driving just through the countryside, and suddenly we saw a giraffe running along the side of the truck, and it was kind of amazing. So I suppose that's why it was, pretty good to see.
Is there anywhere you would particularly like to go to see animals or the natural world?
I've always wanted to see whales in the wild. I've never had the chance to do it, but it looks just so amazing, the size of them. So I'd like to do that, yeah.
What's the most interesting wild animal that you've ever seen in the wild?
Most interesting animal I've seen in the wild? That would be a tiger in a national park in India. So it's very rare that you can actually spot them. So I was very fortunate enough to just to see one, and just the grace of the movement and the awareness of everything around him or her was extraordinary.
Is there anywhere you would particularly like to go to see animals or the natural world?
Madagascar, I'd love to see animals in the natural world there. I've seen a few David Attenborough documentaries and it's like, I want to go there now.